the 9th Assembly was described as a rubber stamp. That you were part of the 9th Assembly.
Yeah.
But this 10th Assembly now has taken the trophy, the baton from you guys. It is called worse than a rubber stamp because everything the president brings is passed. Electoral Act, nobody saw it until it was passed. But then, you know, in a pyrrhic note of, you know, irony, those who quickly did that hatchet job, they become the victims. Your fellow Edo man, you know, Professor Yombere has become a victim, and so many others. Anyway, my question is, how did you get to this point where even loans, approval for loans, the letter is read 10 a.m., by 2 p.m., it is passed for 1 billion plus, and we're in this mess where, how did the National Assembly lose its teeth of oversight?
You see the 8th Assembly, 2015 to 2019. And Dogara. The now president had his people, Bajaber Milaya for the House and Lawa for the Senate. And then they wanted Buhari then to come talk to them in International Conference Center, ICC. Buhari just arrived from the trip and did not go there. Yes, before we were going to elect them that day. Buhari did not go there, and what happened? So we did our own bidding and then we voted for those ones. They were members of APC. But because of the sort of way Buhari was giving them instruction, like, look, no, this is not right. And then later they became members of PDP because they started fighting the executive for most of these things. We could debate bills and motions on the floor of the house then. Once I was with Dogara in his house, we were in another private sitting room in the house, when the then Abakari, the then chief of staff, called him. I mean, I grew up in the north, I understand Hausa. He was no speaker, in fairness to Dogara, but I could hear them talk. So from Dogara's response that, Haba, you know I'm a Christian. I'm in church. You say you'll be calling me all day. What do you expect me to do? To take a call in church? But you have the number of my ADC. You could have told anybody to call my ADC to bring to my attention that you needed to talk to me. I mean, Dogara was talking back to him. What were they looking for? Buhari went for medical treatment overseas, and the time he requested for had lapsed. So they were bringing another letter to extend it, and this communication happened. They're gonna say, if you are serious, bring the letter, and then I will look at it. I will look at it. That's how it used to be. In the 9th Assembly, under the cover of COVID, we were not allowed to debate on the floor of the House. And I also told some of the leadership then, if you don't allow me to talk on the floor of the House, I will go outside to television station, I will say those things. But I also said when we were rounding up 9th Assembly that if you say 9th Assembly is rubber stamp, the 10th Assembly will be rubber stamp Pro Max. I said it on television.
You saw the future.
Because they were handpicking those that would take over from them. And the individuals they were picking from the House, I knew they didn't have the stamina to fight back. They're going to be yes people. It was very clear. And that's what's playing out today. But, like I said, they are licking their wounds now. There are people, somebody told me how that they went to see the president, and the speaker had begged them to say, look, don't talk about your return and all that. When they got there, the speaker spoke glowingly about the House, and that he ended up by saying that the president should please try and give them automatic ticket, which he had promised. If you remember when he went to present a budget once, he now said something about 31. Then I said, no, it's whatever budget. He said, oh, okay, which means you are all coming back. And they hid, and they said the president got up and cleared his throat and said, he's a Democrat. He will not do automatic ticket. He reneged on whatever promises. And what happened to those guys? They said they were cold. The budget they claimed that they will do 30% by March. Actually, they say they did 30% of 30%. So now you don't have budget to show to your constituents. You shouldn't go back. You should be automatic. But yes, he's a Democrat. Allow for a free, fair, and credible primaries. But the 7 members didn't even have anything to show in their constituency, unless those that had juicy committees. So they're able to do empowerment. When we call juicy committee, what does that mean? You are still taking money from the MDAs, ministry departments and agencies. Because you are heading a big committee, you're able to twist them for things they are not doing right, and you get a lot of money to go and do empowerment in your constituency.
Let me ask you, Honorable, as we wind down, part of the job of the National Assembly is oversight, of course, you know, critical function of the National Assembly. This coastal highway, the single largest contract in the history of Nigeria, 15 trillion naira, over 10 billion US dollars, was passed without respect for due process, without even the National Assembly oversighting it and all of that. And then the second issue is overlapping budgets, 2024, 2025, 2026. We don't even know which one now is in force. And then, saddest of all, 2025, the capital expenditure budget for Ministry of Health, Federal Ministry of Health, is about 250 billion naira. What the ministry actually got from the minister's mouth himself is 35 billion naira. Can you explain where is the capital component of the budget going to?
That's the biggest problem. So we say we have made savings from unifying the exchange rate and then the removal of subsidy. Even the last subsidy they have removed. So we are paying more now. Those of us that say we are in band A. I just came from Kigali some 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. You know the topography there. You have hills, you have valley. So when it wants to rain, you have a storm. That was the time I was in Kigali once, and it was so windy they took light. And within 30 minutes they brought the light back. The last storm that happened in Asokoro here, for 2 days we didn't have light. And yet I'm on band A. Imagine if it's a business I'm running. How much will I spend there? So the point I'm making is, you are supposed to have made savings from all these subsidy removers. Where is the money? I don't know if you have followed up on the scandal of the 800 billion, the 700 billion that came from NLNG that should go into the federation account that has been single-handedly handed over to the governors to go and run the election. That's a criminal offense that there should be congressional hearing on it, and the president should have been sweating by now. But what do you expect when you put weak people there? The Senate president today was being looked for by the EFCC, or that the EFCC were looking for him before he contested for that seat. And I remember the other he wrote or said that he was going overseas for medical treatment, and when he comes back, he will present himself to the EFCC. That never happened. He came out with the support of the president, became the Senate president. There's no immunity in that office. So when you put people like this, what do you expect? If you don't do my bidding, the EFCC will come knocking on your door the next day. But we as a nation, we are bigger than this. We ought to get up and begin to speak directly to the system. And I don't know if you have read this book, Why Nations Fail.
Yeah.
Look at Sierra Leone. Look at Sierra Leone. Exact same thing. They have minerals. They talk about the extractive institutions. Those there just on top, just hold this whole thing down to themselves. You talk about the coastal road. No due diligence. People were not called to bid. We don't know how they drew up the tender documents. If you say you are single sourcing somebody, there must be empirical data to follow to arrive at where you are giving that contract to one person. Nothing. You are quoting 15 trillion now. There will be variations. It will still go up. Why should that happen? Why is coastal road the priority? You said you inherited a dead economy. The first thing to do is to revive the economy. Fix the present highways that we have so that goods can move from state to state, move around the country. You are going to start on a journey because you want a legacy. Legacy projects should be coming when you have stabilized a man that is dead, when you have stabilized a country that is dead. Your people said you inherited a dead economy. Fix the economy first. They start talking about legacy projects. You haven't done that. So that's what we're talking about. When people go into expensive primaries and elections, money came from somewhere. They must pay back. They are using coastal road to pay back the money they spent in 2023. And they are also using it to take some money for the 2027 elections.
We don't have evidence for this, and you're a lawyer, so you should know. But before I forget, this is very important. What is the single biggest threat to this democracy, as you and I sit here?
It's not allowing the opposition to be opposition, to exist. And then INEC. INEC is an arm of government, right? Okay, when I say arm of government, INEC is a department in the presidency today, and that shouldn't be. It's a election management body.
Why do you say this?
Yeah, okay. The process that what led to the nomination of the chairman and all that. And then, you remember the chairman was talking about what he did to ADC?
Status quo.
And then the Senate president when they were, I mean, I think there was a function, the president was there and all that. He was defending the fact that the INEC chairman said victory is sure, or whatever. There should be a congressional hearing into those that cleared him did not do all that background check. But there should be a congressional hearing that a man that should have been impartial made such statements in the past. Should have been both parties or all the major parties, what they call it now. I can't quite remember the word. Is it partisan or something? I mean, as in both parties. I know there's another word for it, you know. So
independent, impartial,
coming together to investigate where he's coming from, and if he's found wanting, recommend his removal. But the man who is the chairman of the National Assembly that should have initiated that was the one defending.
For a bipartisan committee.
Bipartisan, yeah, that's the word, bipartisan committee. But that's the man that is now defending the fact that it was just a harmless email. So you are alluding to the fact that he sent it. And like people said, they set up a kangaroo
internal
inquiry in INEC. That should have been congressional. Then this man, people said that his number was tied to that account, and to his account, people started paying. You in this country, started paying 10,000 naira to the account. Where was it going to? So if he had been investigated from the financial sector and all that, that man should even be in jail by now for lying.
The INEC chairman.
Yes, but none of this happened. So for me, that's one of the greatest threats that you will see. We spend billions for elections. I think the last election was 300 and something billion.
But this year is 850 something billion.
The one they spend over 300 and something billion on, they said there was a glitch. Has anyone investigated? Independent investigation, not INEC telling us they have done a review, not a review, because you spend taxpayers' money. So there should have been independent investigation to what happened, and then the report to be out there, so that from the learnings, if there were genuine errors or something that happened, you can take that over to the next election. But nothing has happened. We are preparing for another election, but we don't even know the outcome of the previous one.
Let me ask you, what gives you confidence about this next election, 2027? What gives you confidence that it will be free, fair, and credible? What gives you hope or confidence?
I can't tell you that I believe it to be free, fair, and credible. But what I can tell you is that we will match them. Because they have shown their hands. Yeah, they have shown their hands very early. Even in the primaries they are doing within their party now, people can already see who they are, see them for who they are. And most of this is going around the whole world, or they have gone around the whole world.
2027 presidential, elections between, I've mentioned those possible gladiators that will square off again. How do you see it? In what scenario do you see President Tinubu losing that election? In what scenario do you see any of the other, Peter Obi or Atiku or whoever Mechi wins? How does that ever play out?
The president will lose the note. That's why I keep saying there's a free, fair, and credible election.
Yes.
People have. Does anyone want to experience another 4 years? Okay, he's barely 3 years now. By 2019 will be the 3 years.
Yes.
With what has happened in the last 3 years, will anybody want another 3 years of this? I can tell you nobody wants it. I read somewhere that 1 kg of cooking gas is 1,700 naira now. How many homes can afford this? And we're talking about deforestation. So what do you expect those in the village to do? Go in there and cut down all the trees. So nobody wants another 3 years of this government. So if there's a free, fair, and credible election, he will struggle to get 25% in any state, even Lagos. So where is he going to win? Like Erufai said, there's no pathway for this president to go back to the villa. He's not there. So we're talking about somebody like Atiku taking the core note. But the core note alone will not give you the votes to go to the villa. That's why people might say we are deluded. That's why I think Obi is the next president of Nigeria. Even the youth, you heard Pep also saying that the daughter wanted him to work with Peter Obi. Absolutely. All the first children, you have heard them talk about Peter Obi. So even in the north, their children that are educated have begun to speak up. Because why are we talking about Peter Obi? We want good governance. The young people want a future, not geriatrics coming that they are on their last lap. Because the laws and the governance now, they will not benefit from it. Not that that's not why they don't care, but if you're not going to be if you're not going to be alive in the next 10, 20 years, although it's only God that determines that, that's not to say you won't do the right thing. But for a young man that's in his 30s or in his 40s, you that you are in your 80s, you are the one making laws and determining what will happen to him in the next 40 years. Where does that happen?
What are you campaigning for this time? You're running for office.
I'm running for Senate.
Okay, 2027.
Yes, 2027.
What constituency is that?
Edo Central.
Okay, Edo Central.
Yes.
What are your chances? Under what
Right.
party? NDC?
NDC, absolutely. Wherever he goes, we go. Under the NDC. And we will be there. We will be in the Senate to make sure nobody touches Peter Obi as the president. Because if we allow idiots to go there, they will impeach him. That happened in Anambra before. But we will not allow it. The man has only 4 years.
But that also means you also become a rubber stamp to Peter Obi, so that anything he brings will be passed.
From the way the man is.
Good or bad?
No, we will query it. But some of us will be there to advise him on what to do.